Dr. Wadzani Dauda Panam is a remarkable academician, mentor, and life coach whose enthusiasm for research is truly inspiring. With a prolific track record of over 100 publications, he is a trailblazer in his field. Currently a distinguished faculty member at Federal University, Gashua, Nigeria, Dr. Panam's work extends far beyond the classroom. His dedication to sustainable development goals and the agrarian revolution is commendable. Through his commitment to quality teaching, cutting-edge tech research, and active involvement in community development, he's paving the way for positive change. Dr. Panam's accomplishments are nothing short of awe-inspiring, with a collection of prestigious awards and grants from organizations like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundations, Regeneration, APS, ASM, DBT, India, TWAS, Italy, and the M.J. Taruma Laka Merit Awards for Young Scientists. These accolades attest to his exceptional contributions to the scientific community. His diverse research interests span a wide spectrum of topics, from plant research detection and mycotoxicology to agricultural microbiology, genomics, and bioinformatics. Dr. Panam's expertise in multiomics analysis and his novel gene identification and characterization work are at the forefront of scientific innovation. In addition to his impressive research endeavors, Dr. Panam is an active member of several esteemed scientific and professional organizations, including ASPMB, ISCB, ISMPMI, SFAM, APS, NSPP, ASM, NYA, and RSB UK. His international collaborations with leading research groups further demonstrate his commitment to global scientific progress. In summary, Dr. Wadzani Dauda Panam is a dynamic force in academia, research, and community development. His unwavering dedication, extensive accomplishments, and global impacts make him a true visionary and a source of inspiration for all. Thank you very much, sir.
Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all the professors, everyone here present. I mean, I could count you all by name, but thank you all for being present. Now, by way of introduction, this is actually a recap. We've done this particular talk previously, but due to popular demand, we decided to take a recap of it. Thank you for the introduction. It's Joy. So we'll be discussing today on nitty-gritties of academic and grant writing. So what are we basically doing today is to give us some of the very important things everyone, whether you are a starter, you are at the middle level, or a prolific academic or a grant writer, these important tips are very important as a take-home. Now, by way of introduction, I will divide my discussion into two sections. One is the academic writing, and I will focus more on publications as the case might be. So basically, when we say academic writing, there are different kinds of writing. Academic writing and non-academic writing, when they say something is non-academic, it doesn't mean the thing is worthless. It just means that when it comes to an academic, there is a system, there's a structure, there's a format, there's a purpose, and there's a tone. So that's actually what differentiates general academic writing with non-academic writing, right? So at this point, whether it could be an essay, whether it's a research paper or it's a dissertation, there's always a standard, there's always a format. You don't just pick up an article. I mean, even when they are within the academic circle, there's a way you write if you are in the social sciences and management. There's a way you write if you are in biotechnology. There's a way you write if you are in mathematics. So there's always a structure. Now, these are the examples when we say academic writing. These are the things that it generally entails. It could be a research article, it could be a review paper, it could be a proceeding, it could be an editorial material, it could be an abstract, letter to the editor, a book chapter, a book review, a host number of things. But then for the audience, that most of the people that are here, the one that would generally concerns a lot of us here are research articles, conference papers, reviews, theses, or dissertations, as the case might be. So what are the characteristics? At every time, whether you're writing an assignment, a lecturer gives an assignment, or you're writing a rebuttal. In fact, Even in writing rebuttals, there's a way to write a rebuttal. A rebuttal means like you submitted a paper, they get back to you, and you need to reply them back, right? There is a tone. I remember I had an experience when I was in my PhD program. We got one of our papers with several feedbacks, and so my professor asked me to just write the rebuttal. So I wrote, and everything. So when I sat down and when we were looking at it, he said, no, you can't use this tone to a reviewer. This tone you are using is too formal. Your reviewer at this point is like the determinant whether our paper is going to get published or not. So your tonation. So we have to sit down to recast and make the whole rebuttal look, look more appealing. Appealing in the sense of we're trying to appeal to the reviewer, because the way I was writing, okay, yeah, we did this, this thing you are saying is like that, it's like that. So there is a formality, all right? So it's formal, right? And it's explicit, meaning it's to the point. You don't write it's approximate, it's so within this, as much as possible, it's explicit, it's precise, and there's a structure. Very important. It's unbiased. You are dealing with data, whether you're in the social sciences, in the management, or whatever discipline, it's unbiased. It's responsible. So you can't find tonations or slangs or things like that. So these are just general characteristics of how the tone looks like. But regardless of the tone of whatever you are writing, whether it is a proposal or it's a whatever, I will talk about proposals later on. Know your topic and the demand of the task. What are you expected to do? Are you expected to synthesize? Are you expected to discuss? Are you expected to compare? Are you expected to give your thoughts? You have to understand your topic and the demand of the writing. You have to understand your audience. And you know what? This is the same parameters that they use in scoring essays. I've been in panels where we score people that submit essays for some award and all of that. These are the parameters they check, all right? Or you're writing a motivation letter or statement of purpose, anything academic. These 4 things I'm telling you are the things the evaluators check. Whether you really know this topic. Okay, you are telling us about, you're writing your statement of purpose. I am this, I'm that, I'm this and that. How authentic are you? The demand of the task. You want to understand your audience, all right? So you see sometimes even in grants, like I said, I'll talk about grants later, but you see even in grants, there are aspects of grants, they will tell you, okay, on this aspect, write to a non-target, write to a general audience. Like the evaluators will be people from physics, from mathematics, from geography, and you are writing a biotechnology proposal, and they'll tell you in this component, write to a general audience. So you have to make your tone. You have to understand your tone, all right? And different components of it. These are the things they score. I've seen score sheets of course, I view a manuscript for Nature, for Elsevier, for Springer. I see how the things they will give you, the journal will give you what to check. And I've also been in panels where people submit even, so these are the things they check, right? How do you understand your audience? Now, everything you write, that's why it's very important. Anything academic. I remember our professors do this in Navy Zaria when I did my master's in Ahmadu Bello University Zaria. Those days, our professors that time, there was one that was very fond of that. He will literally write just a normal letter. He will bring it to us just then we're doing masters. Please look at this. Is it correct? Is it okay? And we'll be wondering, why is this professor giving us? That's just him to just give another person with a different eye to look at it, all right? You have to specify your purpose. You have to specify your purpose. They tell you to write about this, you write about that. Even in fact, even in WAEC, in everything, these are the things they check. They specify your rule, all right? So these are the important parameters they look at. And the structure, the planning, I've talked about that sometime later on, but the planning, that is the most important aspect of in academic writing, the planning of what you are writing. And this is where good writers, expert writers, spend most of their time. They spend most of their time planning what to write, planning how to write, planning where to get their materials, planning what not to write. All right. I don't know. Is my slide still moving? Please, the moderator, let me know. So these are. Hello.
Okay.
Yeah, is my slide moving? Moderator,
yes.
Please.
Yes.
All right. So the planning, and this planning, you whether you are developing a proposal for a grant, you are writing a review, you are writing a book chapter, you are writing a research paper. The main thing, this is where the ball game changes. This is where the whole work stays. In fact, like I was telling, I didn't know it, but the last time I was telling us here, I wrote my whole PhD thesis within 28 days, like within a 28 days period. And the thesis was 326 pages. So it's all planning. There's a way you structure it. When you are writing your introduction, that planning is very important. So when you are going to now go to the real work, you are only connecting the dots and bringing everything together. So that's why you see a lot of people, they say they have been writing a paper and it's been many, and they've been doing it. They'll take months without finishing. The problem is they just jump into it. Okay, let me just start writing introduction. Let me just start writing it. You just start writing and get stuck at a point. Or you pick up a topic, you pick up a thesis, you write your PhD proposal to the panel. You didn't even do thorough check to know whether the work has been done before. You just pick it somewhere and you wrote it. And only for you to come to the end of your program to discover that that work has been done already. All right? So the structure, the drafting, the editing, the referencing, and the submission. These are all broad things. I don't want to dwell too much long here. But like I said, I just to share with us some very important things here. Now, another aspect that in getting your papers published, you see that...
Sorry, doctor. Your slide is not moving now. Sorry.
Okay, I think let's go this way. Is that all right? Let me just... Is it okay like this?
How to get your paper published in high-impact journals.
So I think let me just go without the slideshow. I think that will be better.
No, the slide is okay.
Okay, fine. So we are now how to get your paper published in high-impact journals. Like I was saying, you find people often ask this question: why is it that we are not having researchers from developing countries publishing in good journals and all of that? There's possibility of bias and all of that. Yes, those things are there, but the fact is that when you see how people write, when you see how, given the sentence construction, the arrangement of whether it is a review paper, whether it is a book chapter, whether it is in fact, you don't even need, because to be candid, if you are going to do a standard research, it will take a lot of cost. But then, if you want to be prolific, and that's the honest fact, if you want to be a prolific writer and you want to wait till you get research and funding, you will never really start. You will keep waiting. Why can't you start by writing review papers? Why can't you look at your PhD thesis, your master's thesis, look at the literature review, look at it, fine-tune it, update, check what are the trending things in that area, and see how that is the latest development in that line of your literature review, and put up a synthesized good review article. And of course, one of those days I'm going to do a talk to us on review article. Review articles even get more citations than research papers. That's just a standard. So metadata analysis and several other types of literature review. If you check our Facebook page in the Academic and Grant Writing Hub, there were a lot of things we shared on some of those things there, so you could read them up there. But then, novelty, very, very critical and very important. In fact, yes, just 3 days ago, I got a review invitation from Nature. That was the second one I was getting in just about 2 weeks period. And the guys that did the work, just reading the abstract alone, you could tell a lot of interesting things in that document. But you find somebody will be writing things about that. When you try to read, you say this is a review paper. By the time you are reading the review paper, it's not so different from a literature review of a thesis or a project. So that novelty, you have to be saying something new. You're not just okay, you are just writing, you want to write a review paper. Okay, you just start, okay, Abraham et al. Said this. James et al. Also said this. Peter et al. Said this. Ismail and all also corroborated with this and this. You've not said anything, right? So that novelty, you have to be saying something new in whatever context. And it starts from your introduction, your abstract. In fact, most people, like I was telling you my instance now, when you submit your paper for publication, it goes to the editor. That is for standard journals, not other journals that, there are some journals, as you are clicking submit, according to one of my professors, as you are clicking submit, before your hand leave your cursor, you get acceptance letter. Note those types. In standard journals, it goes to the editor. Now, the editor looks first at your abstract. That's what he looks at. And in the abstract, the last 4 or 5 lines of your abstract is what most editors check. They will check the title, of course, that's a hook. Then they will check the last 5 lines of your abstract. So if it makes sense, and he will now decide to go to your, to your introduction. If it makes sense, he goes to your discussion. If it makes sense, he goes to check your result. If it makes serious sense, he checks your methodology. Then he decides to give it to a reviewer. The same thing the reviewers will do. So it goes like that. This is the same format your essays, your academic essays go through. Whether it is you are writing to your lecturer, you are writing to it goes through that same format. The person will look at the summary of what was the gist. That's why smart writers spend a lot of time there. In fact, as one of my professor used to tell me, that if your abstract is verbose, nobody will bother to read anything. All right? So the application, the validity, the lucidity, and the flow, very important. There have to be a flow. You have to be telling a story. Tell a story, a linking sentence. Let everything form. The next one should build to the next one. These are some of the things that make manuscripts get rejected. These are some of the things that makes applications get rejected. In fact, even in grants, it's the same thing. Like I introduced earlier, these are all academic writing. So the planning and the focusing, the structuring, the evidence, the formality, and the tone of it are very, very important. So now, the overall structure of any type of writing, whether it is a research paper, a review paper, a metadata, all kinds of academic writing, these 3 components are there. Yes, the introduction, the story. How are you telling us? Okay, I've not met you before. Tell me about this thing you've done. Why did you do this work? What's the thing? Yeah, you're trying to write an essay about the effect of insurgency on maternity, the effect of such and such on this. You're writing an essay on this. That's your introduction. That's where people will start reading from. So in whatever context, you spend a lot of time to make sure your English is to the register. You spend a lot of time to make sure that you are giving the readers a direction of, okay, this lady is making sense. I could read further and all of that, right? Now, the main body, of course, the point you are stating, you have to know the main body is structured differently. In standard research papers, you have the materials and method, you have the result and all of that. In different kinds of writings, there are different things that make up this main body in the different disciplines that we have. So you have to understand how it is. And let me tell you a very simple secret that I tell a lot of people I mentor and instruct in academic writing. The rule of thumb is this: your ability to see how similar documents, if you are writing a review on a thing, why can't you go to the best articles that have been written on that? You're writing an essay with it. If you can lay hand on them, read 5, 6 of them, it will give you understanding of how the excellent people do. That's why you see some calls, they give templates, whether it is a writing or so, for you to understand what you are expected to do, all right? Now, the next thing is the arrangement of your point, all right? The arrangement of your point in that logical order. You have to state your point. Every paragraph should discuss a point. You don't lump up everything and all of that, right? What in making your point, you try to use a paragraph, build the structure of an argument, and proceed with it sequentially like that. So there have to be a styling. The story have to be interesting. All right. Now, the next thing is you have in your use of verbs, very important. You know, if you've escaped English language, some people think, okay, they can escape English. You will keep meeting that language consistently. Your use of verbs. There's a type of verb you use when you're writing your abstract. There are types of verbs you use when you're writing your introduction. There are other ones you use when you're writing. So you have to understand that. And how do you understand that? You don't have to go and start reading English language over again. The simple trick is you see how other standard similar papers in that thing, how the experts have done it. So you stand on their shoulders, you read it, you ask questions, so that by the time you are now putting up an abstract, you are writing a document, you are writing that essay, you are submitting that your proposal is not verbose. All right, you could be making a lot of sense as far as you are concerned, but if the sentence construction is bad, in fact, if it is in some journals or some this thing, they will tell you how bad it was, especially if it goes to the West. So, like I said, the big question somebody will ask is, why are we talking so much about, why are we sensitive about research papers and all of that? I will have actually added a slide here to talk about why we write research papers. Because if you don't understand, and every person will be thinking, okay, research paper is just for me to get promotion. Let me get promotion in my place of work. And that's not it. It's because most of us are in developing countries, so we've not seen how a research have moved from, from the lab to a translational to affect the nation. So most of the times we talk from where we are talking from. I have one of my senior brothers, I think he should be here, Dr. Obichi. He taught us, I was in the TED Fund, some weeks, sometimes it's in August or so in Abuja. We had some 2 weeks TED Fund training. And when he was talking to us, he was the lead facilitator of that training. So when he was talking to us, it was talking about research for impact. I learned quite a lot about it there. But there was something I told someone that we were sitting together. When he started talking, when he started introducing about concept of research, how to translate research from the lab to the bench, the first question I asked somebody, all right, I told someone that was sitting close to me, I said, the way this person is sounding, it sounds like somebody that have been to Israel or have been trained by either an Israeli or an American. But the way this facilitator is sounding, he has passed through either of those countries. It was then later when he himself was now telling us he did his MBA in Israel and America. I said, no wonder. Now, why did I say that? Because if you check, I've had a lot of mentors in Israel, in America, professors and all of that. You will find out that a professor will have a lab, all right? He has a group. You could check these things I'm saying. A professor will have a research group. Okay, they are working on this. You now go to the professor's page. You'll find out that professor, he has done they've started a particular experiment. They've validated the experiment. They've confirmed it. It have gone through stages of different processes, and they've developed it into a product. And that product have been commercialized and and they've established a company from that product. And in that company, when you click the company's website, you see a lot of staff with the professor as the CEO of that company. And you see a lot of staff there. And you see the kind of services they are rendering. So that tells you how research is. It's not like, Professor Charles Adetunji, I don't know if he's here. We used to joke when we are talking. It's not effect of saliva on cockroach leg or effect of onion on ants that are moving around. That's not in the context. People use research to change a lot of things. Physicians, agriculturists, scientists, engineers, they use information from research to develop, products and to solve solutions. Is that all right? So that's the thing. You remember during COVID, how you see there was an opening. In fact, journals, if you write anything on COVID, everybody was sending manuscript, and there's a fast track mode of publishing COVID-19 manuscript. Why? Because they are looking for the researchers to produce a solution. And I remembered I was in India then during COVID. I was just sitting one day and I was just reflecting and thinking about a method I think could use in developing a particular vaccine. So when I was thinking of that idea, I was reading about it and all of that. That evening, I saw that on the news, there was this Oxford group. The professor was writing that they have done similar work. They've done a work on that, and this is the line of research they've done. When I read it, I was shocked. And before I know what was happening, they've used that and developed a vaccine. So that's the thing. So people, when you understand the gravity of what research publication is, it changes how we think, it changes how we reason, and all of that, and how we write it. So this is the structure. This is the anatomy of a research paper. Now, if it's a research paper, this is how it looks like, right? The anatomy. You have the abstract, which gives the summary of the article, right? In every content. You have the introduction. The background talks about the background, the description. Why did you do this thing? Why did you pick this topic? Then you have the methodology or materials and method, as the case might be. Then the result. Then the discussion. All these things are broad things in themselves. And when you understand these things and you develop the skill of writing, the truth of the matter is that writing research papers, there are professors here. I've seen some professors around in this panel. There are professors here, they will know that. And you will understand that writing itself is a skill. All right. I was just talking to one of my mentees this afternoon. I was just replying him a message. He was writing that a particular professor was asking him to write a proposal for him free of charge. Now, you find, because it's a skill. Somebody can be a professor without knowing how to write a research paper. You do, okay, put my name, and the person will scale through. But one thing that is very important is that when you learn this skill of writing a research article, right? Literally everybody on this call is either has passed through a bachelor's program, or you have your master's, or you have a PhD. And like I said, there are professors here. So the question is this: you now ask yourself, the professors that join us, is there anything new they are looking for here? Not really. But that's the inquisitive mind of every person that is learned. Every person that is learned will always seek something to add, something to know. Now, because in addition to that skill of writing, you become expert in it, that Professor Charles Adetunji, he should be here. I talk a lot about it because we work a lot. There was a time we were to catch up with the deadline of a particular call for a review paper then in one of the high impact journals. So we're so busy, but that week we only have 1 week to submit the manuscript. So he said, okay, let me divide. So I developed the outline. So I said, 3 of us, let's divide the what do you call it? The outline. So I took one part. Dr. Israel Ikoyi, I don't know if he's here, he took a part. Professor Charles took a part. And we wrote that thing within 3 days. And it was, I think, 37 or so pages. By the time we compiled it, we submitted it. Now, that's a very big mistake because you don't actually write papers like that. But the point I'm trying to drive home is, yeah, and when I checked the plagiarism using Turnitin, it was 3%. Like, just checking, it was 3%. We submitted it in rush. Of course, it came back, it went for review. The editor checked it, sent for review, and the reviewer sent back that, the way we wrote this thing, we should harmonize our thoughts together, which is true, which was what we didn't do. Because so each of our individual component was fantastic. That's why I could scale through the editor and goes to the reviewer. But of course, the reviewer who will read in detail will tell, oh no, you guys should harmonize your thought together and send it back to us. All right. So that is how it is. In standard journals, this is how it follows. This is the pipeline. So let me rush because of time. So this is how you get a feedback. This is one of my feedback to a Nature review I sent. Because of time, I will not want to discuss here in detail. So, but this is the thing here now. If you are writing, right, there are certain things you should know. Ideas that are sourced and ideas that are your own ideas. Ideas that are sourced, perhaps you don't know the topic, or you may not know what to say, or you are not sure of what you are saying. The arrangement. You have to arrange the ideas in your own way, in your own thoughts, in your own language. You have to connect, show the connection between the ideas, which was a point I mentioned earlier to us, right? You have to develop the ideas in your own way, and you have to recast and put the sentences in your own way, right? So 7 things or 7 rules now. There are several ways, 2 ways to start, several steps. In fact, they are, because of time, that's why I shortened them. I would have, because I want to go to the next one now. 7 steps along how to start writing, right? Preparation, deadlines, the items that is used in grading in general academic writing, right? Now, next section we will look at, we could have taken questions and answer, but because of time, I will just go to the grant writing section, then we will take the together.
Yes, thank you, Doctor. Thank you very much. Dear colleagues and respected professors, please, if you have any question, please do not hesitate to use the chat box. Drop your question, and if you have any other question, put them down. At the end of this section, the question floor will be open. Thank you very much once again. Doctor, you can take on. Thank you.
All right. So the next thing I will be talking about is grant writing, right? Grant writing, of course, is a broad topic, but in this grant writing, there are different reasons people look for grant or people search for grants. There are different purposes for it. Number one, it could be to generate revenue. Revenue, somebody has an idea, is looking for money to execute that idea, or to contribute to society building, or to strengthen a research idea, contribute to society building. That's where non-governmental organizations come in. Or can be seen to do an outreach. So there are grants that are into doing an outreach. Yesterday, a professor in the UK called me, we're discussing there's a grant we're trying to put up. They have, the grant is to get funding to ship some items. I think some biotechnology has items from UK as charity to Nigeria, but the custom duties and other things are a number of things alone, and the grant doesn't cover that. So we're looking for funding so we're discussing that proposal in that line with the professor. Day before yesterday. So there are different purposes how people write grants, all right? To build your own brand. And let me tell you a fact. Grant doesn't make people rich, all right? It doesn't make people rich. Some people say, this person win grant, is supposed to be a millionaire by now. Grant doesn't make people rich. What could come in? There are grants, of course, that have stipend and this thing for the PI and all of that, especially for research and even non-governmental organizations. But in the context of it, everybody writing a grant is trying to solve a solution. Somebody was saying somewhere, sometimes, that we're discussing about submitting a proposal, and the person looks at, so you're applying this amount of money to get that. If you get this kind of money, you just cut off, disappear. And I said, that's why people like you will not get, because they won't even give you in the first place. So you have to understand the purpose, right? And that forms your motivation. Now, how? You have to have an idea. You have to have something you are trying to address, something you are trying to find how to solve. Opportunities for funding, that's a broad thing that we cannot start discussing here. But there are outlets where fundings could be calls for expression of interest, call for submission of proposals, and a host number of things. There are funding agencies, and those funding agencies give their rules. And those rules, like I mentioned earlier, whether it is a cover letter or problem statement, objective, literature review, methodology, timelines, and all of that, those things have to be adhered to. Now, you are the one looking for favor. You don't dictate the terms to the person, all right? So first thing, important things that are also very important, the budgeting. They determine the budget. I remember writing one of the first grants I was applying for. I wrote, and it was a little over budget. I think then the committee was so kind. In fact, me and the professor, the chair of that committee, we later became very close friends. I mean, later on, because the funding was in US. So when I wrote, and my budget was a little bit higher. So eventually, somehow, it looks like my proposal was this thing was shortlisted. So the professor was so kind. She now wrote back to me that they've scored and my proposal was the one among the ones to be considered. I should kindly trim down my budget to be exactly or below what they are looking for. And I mean, I have to now bring it down and submitted it, and I just got it. And me and the person became very, very good friends, means we chat even on WhatsApp. So that's important with budget. You may not be so lucky like I do. Some, once the budget is more with 10 kobo, they just throw it off. Deliverables, very important. In fact, the truth of the matter is that grant itself, even though they are giving you charity, is actually with a business mindset. They are not giving you to dash you. That's why they will come for those in non-governmental organizations, they call it spot checking. Then in research, there's a name we call it. So they will come to see what you've done. What are your deliverables? All right? What are your deliverables? What have you been able to do? If they are giving you a proposal to do your PhD, you've written a grant, you've written a proposal, you've submitted, you've gotten the PhD program or a master's program, and you're supposed to, what are your deliverables? You have to see the guidelines and to make sure that you deliver it. All right? You know, I did my PhD was of course the way it funded, you have to write a proposal and all of that. So, but when you write, what are they expecting you to give them? And if you are smart and you want to really earn a spot, you can even go above the deliverables. All right? So that is the ideal thing. That's the ideal thing. You know, where I did my PhD program and all of that, at a point in time, the scholarship coordinator have to call me. I think then me and my wife took us to the director, the actual director of the scholarship itself, took us to his office with his wife. He said, we're so impressed and all of that and all of that. And advertise. In fact, the director was one asking me to apply for postdoc under the same scholarship. So that's what happens. All right. So it's you know, you have to know what are the things you need to deliver, and you have to deliver it. The organizational information, your document, these are things you need to take note of. It's not like how they call it national cake, especially in Nigeria, where you just send, okay, let's just do it like how. No, you have to be detailed and to be so that next time you won't have reason why you are sending it, nobody will bother. The idea of fit between concept, organization, and the funding agency. You cannot be an agri organization and you'll be writing funding, applying for funding to do a medical thing. I mean, it's meaningless. So then, what are the 10 tips to writing fantastic grants? I'll tell us as we round up. First things, you choose the appropriate grant scheme. Like I said earlier, what are the criteria of the funders? In fact, if the first thing you need to check when you're applying for any grant, for anything, is the eligibility. So you don't waste time reading a lot of information, then come to the eligibility and discover that under some clause you are not eligible. The eligibility of the organization and their project, do you fit into their scheme? Next is you have the right team in place. Very important. That's why they ask for CV of the team members. They are asking for CV of the team members, and sometimes they will tell you your last 5 published papers of all the team members. They want to know whether these guys or these people that are trying to do this thing are capable of doing it. Now, these things or these nitty-gritties I'm saying are things you keep in mind when you are writing, and they are the things that differentiate somebody that gets a grant and somebody that doesn't. Because if you are just writing, okay, give us a team, you just say, oh, I have my in-law, he's so and so. I have this one, he's so and so. It's not a family thing. You have to get the best people that fit what you are looking for. All right? One of my friends, it submitted a call in TED phone, a concept note, and when the concept note was scaled through, they denied them basically because there was no computer scientist and they were writing things to do with artificial intelligence in their proposal. No matter how you think, the experts just have to be there, and you have to take it very serious. The rationale What are you doing and why are you doing it? And how does it address the gap? You have to really tell them and you have to convince them. All right. And in convincing them, that's where data comes into play. You have to tell them, I did this, we did this, we did this. So it comes into very important play. Like I was telling the other time, there was a proposal, a grant. We were declined that grant just because we didn't do cost analysis of soya bean in Nigeria. That was the reason the grant were declined. Like, they analyzed the proposal to us, the strength of the proposal. Yes, it was innovative, it was this and that, but we didn't justify the economic market value of soya bean across Nigeria. And we are proposing to do this, to do this, to do that, where we didn't actually. Meanwhile, we mentioned food importance, how nutritious the soya bean is, and all of that. But as far as they are concerned, we didn't talk about the economy. And they now said, because of that, we are declined, we should resubmit the proposal again the next year. So you have to understand it. All right. Now, next is you have to have your defined goals and objectives. Your objectives should match your outcome. It should flow like the way a thesis will flow. Objective 1, materials and method 1.3.1. It should rhyme with your method result 4.1. It should rhyme with your discussion 5.1. So it should rhyme like that. There should be a flow. So if somebody picks it up, you can draw a straight line across your thought pattern in the writing. Time, very important. You try not to do late submission. I mean, it could be very tricky. As much as possible, when you see a grand call or so, you try to do it as much as possible. And remaining focused. In your writing, in your discussion, you have to maintain a flow of thoughts. All right? You have to ensure that your thoughts is focused and straightforward. Not so many things at the same time. All right? Then the supportive people, I've talked about that earlier also. I will not want to emphasize it here again. Provide detailed pricing. I've also talked about that earlier when I was talking about budgeting. The pricing, you have to be detailed. And that's why it's advisable, especially when you're writing for foreign, is write in dollars, because dollar can be 1,000 today, can be 200 naira tomorrow. So you have to have a standard pricing and all of that. Visual aids, very important. I've talked about this the other time. The proposal, when you're writing, as much as possible, if you can come up with a visual description of your proposal, such that if an evaluator look at it, you could tell where you want to start and how you are going to end with a picture. That's where things like, you find a lot of people on Facebook, on Instagram, on all those things. What are they busy doing there? Pictures and clips. And people spend hours there. So because things have evolved, so you try to make in visual aids in it. All right. I learned that from one of my professors. We wrote a proposal together, and he was so emphatic. Said, Dr. Wadzani, we have to put a figure, we have to put a flow chart, we have to put. So I was not used to it. So he kept emphasizing at the point you have to fit a Zoom meeting. He was explaining, he said, this is what you mean, this is what you say, yes, sir. He said, draw it like that and come up with a concept. And I did it, send it back to him, he edited it, send it back and forth, we submitted it, and we got the grant. So it helps a lot, right? Especially for research grant, sell the purpose and all of that. So in all, the few things of heart, it's been a great journey. These are some of the clips, the pictures won, some of the awards I've won in the course. I think this one, this slide should be 2020. Lots of things I've not updated yet. But then these are how it works. This particular picture was it was a debate competition, an essay. We wrote the essay, then we came and did the presentation in India. Then I was doing my PhD program, and the debate was Indian agricultural system, the current and the former and all of that. So I took Kingston for India, wrote it, and I got the prize and all of that. So it was a very interesting time. So that's the few things of heart. I want to thank you all for your times. And how do you get global visibility? I mean, somebody is saying out of the whole Africa, you are having somebody is number so, somebody is number so. How did they do that? And there's actually a way it happens. So, and the idea of research, what's the essence? And in fact, how do I, in a developing country, how do I gain popularity, visibility? How do I publish, even if I don't have data? There's a way to publish even if you don't have data. So those are what this whole first module will deal with. And the second module will be talking about research question, the entire thing, how to form a research hypothesis, how to, whether you are in social sciences, in management, in whatever discipline, how to form a research question and how to answer it, what's hypothesis, how to conduct it. Then the publication process, how do you submit, how do you select a journal, how do you prepare your manuscript, how are there softwares, some artificial intelligence tools that are used in preparing your manuscript, fair data analysis. Of course, you know the meaning of fair data. Those are the things that will be dwelling extensively in this context. In fact, the keynote speaker that will be coming to talk on this is a very distinguished fellow, both in the academic and in the industry. So then the third module will talk where we'll now be bringing editors from various disciplines, from social sciences, from management, from engineering, from medicine, and all of that, to now bring in specific questions. It will be a very interactive sessions where you'll be able to have time to interact with them, to hear from them. What are the things, what do they check? Because like my background, I'm more biotechnology and agricultural sciences and biological sciences. There's a way it happens differently in the social sciences. So we're having those team of professors coming to talk in that line. Then this module, module 4, which is the most critical component of the module. So here, how to effectively write a standard paper. In fact, when we are discussing with a team of professors in coming about with this course module, the idea is at the end of the course module, whether you have a data or you don't have a data, you should be able to write the first draft of your manuscript at the end of 6 weeks. See, that means there will be a lot of things you'll be able to share. If you have a data, let's say you have a chunk of data and you don't know how to figure it out. How do I start? What am I going to start? This data is, I finished my master's, or I'm supposed to submit for promotion. I have a lot of student projects I supervise. I don't know how to start with them. How do we do it? I've done my work. I'm expected to. How do you start? How do you bring about this large data to come up with something unique? So the interest of it, in fact, that's the main aim of it. It's an applied course whereby by the end of 6 weeks, everybody that went through that course will have a draft of your research paper. If you don't have a research paper, if you don't have data, you'll be carried and guided through writing an effective review paper based on your discipline. So it's going to be a very intensive period. But the idea, in fact, I was talking with one of the professors yesterday. The idea is you come out through this training, you can effectively be on your own. You don't need somebody, like somebody was talking to me last time. I think he's a medical doctor. He works in one of the hospitals. So there's a project they have been working. They have so much case study data. And they are looking for, he has no idea. So he was one talking to me about joining the class when we are going to start the course. So the person they wanted to write the work together with, who used to write, tells them that we can only allow, he will write, but he will be the first author, or he will be the lead author, and all kinds of conditions. So it will be from whether you've written a paper before, you've not written a paper before, there is a proper system where everyone will be guided. How to write a research title, the research paper title. There is a whole lot of extensive discussion on that, lot of material. How to write an abstract, how to write introduction, how to write methodology, your materials and method, what are the things, and how to write your results, very important. The person that was asking about thesis, for me, that was one of the things that I did very well. I mean, there's a way you arrange the result of your experiment that by the time, and there are a lot of softwares that we use. And those softwares, interestingly, most of them are free And we have some of the versions that are transferable. So these are the things and all of that. So this is one of the main modules that you'll be to be very exhaustive here. Then we have a module where the using artificial intelligence reference managing tools. We'll be having it. One of the resource persons will be bringing all the way from India. He'll be telling us practically how to use reference managers. I mean, as you are writing, the reference is citing itself. By the end time you finish, you just couple it and you are done. And there are a host number of them, and there's a way to do it. Yes, many people could know Mendeley, but there are a number of them more than, in fact, there are more recent ones now. So we're having someone that will be coming to talk extensively that. I've used that quite a number of times myself. So that is that. Then one of the modules, the sixth module, is how to select a journal. In fact, this looks simple, but the fact is, there was one of my papers that was, I think during my PhD, that paper was rejected up to 4 times. Yes, up to 4 times, because the work was more microbiology, but I was sending it to biotechnology-based journal, and it kept turning it down, turning it down. It will even go to the reviewers. The reviewers that will review it will look at it from the angle of a biotechnology. Meanwhile, it's a pure microbiology work. Finally, when I decided to just send it to a microbiology, it just got accepted with very minimal corrections. So there's a way. There are softwares in selecting based on your title, based on your abstract, based on your introduction, based on your result. There's a way to select a journal. And there are some of those Elsevier journals, Springer journals that are free. You can't pay for those. I mean, some of like the journal I'm an editor with them, one of the journals, Elsevier journal I'm editor, to publish in that journal is about $3,000. Where will somebody from Nigeria get that kind of money except you have funding? But there's a way to do it. All right. There are strategies to follow to get a way through it. And now that's that. Then very important, plagiarism and how to avoid it. How do you, just like the question the person was asking about ChatGPT detection tools, there are tools that detect if you write with ChatGPT. That's the truth. So, but of course, using ChatGPT is not plagiarism. So I'm just using it as an example. So, but this plagiarism as a thing, there's a way you get used to writing that you write without plagiarism. All right. And there is a system. Of course, there are softwares that we use to reduce plagiarism levels and all of that. There are softwares we use to check plagiarism and a host number of them. So there'll be demonstrations of how to use those softwares and how to avoid it. Because like in most developed countries, your thesis doesn't have to be more than 10% similarity of plagiarism and a number of that. So these are some of the general things the whole course will be doing. But then, very important, the participation of the course, we try to get things standard. I mean, our aim is excellence. The certifications that will be given from this course that different professors are putting together will be standard recognized across the whole world. ISO, IAF, and IAS. These are standard organizations that you could use those certifications for promotions and a host number of them beyond the skill you'll be having. And the course slides, the videos, the templates, the materials, and all those things, because if you are to catch up to meet up 6 weeks submission. In fact, I was discussing with one of my senior friends this morning about this course, and we're talking about it. So we're just discussing. He told me that by the time we're launching the course, you'll be the first person to register. So, because the essence is, at the end of it all, I mean, we've seen a number of courses that talked, whether it is on YouTube or wherever, that talk about these things. But the uniqueness of this course is the fact that a person will be tailor-guided by respective experts in various disciplines towards coming up with a paper in 6 weeks. I mean, that, and you see the magic. Now, that is it. So the essence is excellence, like I said. So we'll be sharing the details of how to get the registration and all of that about this course and all of that. You know, and we developed the module of behind being able to come up with a research paper at the end of 6 weeks based on, like I said, the training we attended in research for impact. We went there, all of us went there. I mean, Dr. Obichi should be here because I think I saw him earlier. I think he logged out. If he's here, he will want to just say hello. He was one of the distinguished faculties that taught us, major facilitator. I mean, we learned a lot from him. So medical doctor and all of that. So there, we all went there, all of us, selected lecturers from, I think, 18 universities, polytechnics across Nigeria, went there for 2 weeks. We all went there like that, normal, no any big thought or anything. We all went there. We started from basics, like from, okay, they divided us into groups, zero hunger, this one and that one, 4 of us. We started from conceptualizing how to conceptualize a research, a translational research. By the end of 2 weeks, we have developed a product. It was a very intensive period from morning to evening. By the end of 2 weeks, in fact, my team, what we developed a what do you call it? A material like a bag that women could express their breast milk, keep it in that bag, and it can stay for 8 hours. So a woman could express her breast milk, keep it in that material, in that container, and go to work. And people in the house can be taking care of the children and all of that with it. Some other group developed a drone machine that could use to scan and be able to detect cracks in wall. I mean, within 2 weeks, so you could check the page of what do you call this thing? Research for Impact. You will see it on their Facebook page. You see those things there. So I could share some of those things in the group. You could see them. That's the magic we are trying to do here. It's possibly doable. So we'll be sending the informations about the thing in the WhatsApp group. Those are not in the group. You could drop your information. These are these things. So we'll be sharing those things there. Now, the question is, who are the facilitators of this course? That's the important question everybody will be asking. The main facilitators of this course, of course, the team are still rounding up the team. Sorry, I had a little issue. But these are the team of the main facilitators of this course. So Professor Charles is one of the lead facilitators in the course. Professor Charles is the #1 researcher in Nigeria, I think with currently 591 publications. We spoke even this morning. In fact, even last night we spoke, we're still discussing about this course with him. Last night around 12 midnight till this morning. We're looking at how to fine tune it and all of that. So the essence is we're trying to translate it. All right. Charles is the #1 cited researcher on Scopus in Nigeria and is the #1 in Africa. Then myself. Then we have Professor Shakira, who is in Pakistan, distinguished scholar in medicine and agricultural probiotics. She does a lot of works in that institute. We have Professor Ati, who is in geography, the dean, an amazing scholar. Then we have Dr. Godwin, who is in social science and management. I was just updating the slide. I was rushing. There's one of our professors in medicine that is also there on board. So in total, just about 7 distinguished faculties are the course facilitators of this course. So please be updated. We'll update you on how the registration is going to be. But please, you could drop in your interest in the WhatsApp group as the time goes on. So it's been a great time discussing with you. It's been a nice time sharing. And we look forward to having interactive times together with you. Thank you so much. And I thank you for spending your evenings with us. Thank you.